Welcome to Underqualified Thoughts, where two brothers-in-law have conversations stemming from their daily lives. Expect authentic, relationship-building discussions that time capsule the early years of these podcasters' families, careers, and pastimes.
My name's Andy. His name's Caleb. We're sitting in two chairs. He's in a rocking chair. I'm in a recliner. You're flipping a coin. I wonder in the last episode if they heard the times that you dropped the coin. And I wonder in this episode if you can hear the sound of the coin flipping. Okay, you just dropped it on your microphone. Yeah, they're going to hear that. I remembered why I started the episode so abruptly. It's because we were talking. We think we did our best episode last time. Would you say that?
I feel like it was pretty solid. It was just quality conversation at the very least. Again, if the purpose of this right now is for good time capsule bonding, and then lastly, if you get something from it, great. I feel like we accomplished number one and definitely number two, and we'll see what people say about it to accomplish number three.
Yeah, we're definitely
Solid.
not making something that's for everybody. I don't think anyone's making something for everyone except for maybe like Apple with the iPhone or something. But
yeah, we
not
don't,
many.
We haven't like made a target audience and all that nonsense.
No, and if we were doing this for real, we should.
If we were trying to make money with this, if we were trying to gain a massive amount of followers and do all that, but podcasts.
If we were trying to gain a massive amount of followers, none of our episodes that have already been released would have been released.
That's right. But this could be one of those things like we've talked about in the meta before about, I don't know. I can't use that word correctly. I've been all messed up since the commercial. You mean
the commercial that you made?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. There are some genres of like media that are purely just the vlogs of the world, the kind of travel with me vlog stuff. I mean, like all of that, it's still entertaining, and so that could be a target audience focus thing. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it'd be a really small niche that we'd be trying to hit if people who are aspiring to make a podcast are the audience of our podcast.
That would be...
Hey, you gotta find your people. So, I bring that up with we think the last one was our best one. Do you think this one's going to be better? Do you think it's going to be equal quality? Do you think we're going to fade because it's the second one of the day?
I don't know. It's one of those deals that once you start talking and then you get to like the halfway point of a conversation, you start tailing off a little bit. So we just have to keep up.
Which is why we pretty much have two completely different conversations. As we start tailing off, Caleb goes, okay, second topic.
Next thing, new thing. We'll see. Let's rank it at the very end. How about that?
Or maybe we'll start to rank it, and then that'll be our hard cut, and I have to come back for the next episode.
And then we'll tell you how we thought it was.
Yeah. So it's also interesting because that's the first time we've given our opinion before listening to it, which, seamless transition. I was listening to episode 5 on the way to the family dinner that we had for Caitlin, my wife's birthday, last weekend. And it was the first time that we listened to an episode and weren't able to finish it. I think, whatever. There was like a minute and a half left when we showed up to the Rogers house. And we walk inside, and I had this feeling that like we didn't finish something, but I wasn't just going to sit in the car for another 90 seconds and like listen to the rest of the podcast because we weren't late, but we weren't early. So I was like, all right, let's just, we had a time window. We had a half-hour time window to get there, and we were towards the end of that half-hour time window. I had to clarify that because Caleb was squinting at me when I said we weren't late, but we weren't early. He was like, you mean on time? Sure, we'll go with that. So I wasn't just going to sit there, especially because Caitlin's just sitting in the back seat with Lily in the car seat. Like, she's a ticking time bomb once the car stops moving, so we got to go. So I felt like I had this sensation that something wasn't finished. And then I also got the sensation as soon as I walked in the house and I saw you, I like squinted and was like, I feel like I've just been talking to you for the last half hour because I'd been listening to our conversation from the past half hour.
I think that's pretty
hilarious. When do you listen to these? Have you experienced the feeling of like what I'm just describing?
I will come clean.
Wow.
Most of the time I don't listen to the whole thing because I edit it. I spend a quality amount of time with the actual
Content.
tape. Yeah. And I have to like go through and do what I want to it and whatnot. And I have to hop around. And by the time I output it, it's like it's out there for the world. I'm on to the next project.
Yeah, of the 20 projects that you have always going at one time.
That's right. So yeah, I think I've listened to the first one all the way through, and then just snippets across the board. It's just one of those things that I don't know. I don't know if I would like. I feel like I've already had the conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going through the conversation to remember it. I'm going through the conversation to like see areas of improvement.
Like a critique.
So, yeah, like see like what like I've made the analogy before of like watching film after a game.
That makes sense.
To see what you did well, what you didn't do well. And I say I'm not doing it or listening it to remember, but I do think I am in a sense. I am listening because I tend to listen to them on the way to or right before we record the next one.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. We were kind of talking about the longevity of this podcast and how we have a year left of it, $100 for the subscription.
Basically, it's not going to cost us any more money to do this,
Right?
For another 11 months,
and it definitely won't if you just pay us to do this. But I think I would get to a point where I would go back and like re-listen to 1 through 6, and then like maybe in a month or two I'd go back and listen to them and just
to see how far we've come.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's going to be just these massive leaps or anything, but there's certainly a better technical difference between one and this one. And just, I know that we're not as structured as some people would like, but it's getting there.
Well,
getting
well, you say you're not as structured as some people would like. You are, in a sense, some people.
I'm adding myself.
Because you are the driving force who's like, give us structure, give us a theme, give us flow. And I'm over here like chaotic energy. I'm pretty sure most of the questions you ask me, I don't actually finish my thought. And I'm sure that drives a lot of people crazy. But that's because I'm external processing.
Yeah.
And while that there is a time and a place, like in a work setting where I work really hard and use a lot of mental energy to make sure that I prepare my thoughts and, communicate concisely so that my idea can get out. This isn't my job. I'm not trying to do this. I'm not trying to have another area where I have to put that high level of mental energy into. I'm just trying to have a conversation. And for those who don't know me and haven't had many conversations with me, this is how they tend to go.
So, segue. Last we talked in episode 5. No, 4. That was 4, wasn't it? That we talked about your career journey?
Yes, but I'm also not done bringing up episode 5. Talking about the...
Oh, we're still on 5.
Still on the banter of the...
Okay.
The
Scratch
meta.
that. Banter.
See, this is what keeps happening. But either one of us gets a seamless transition, and then the other one goes, but I'm not done.
I'm not done. Wait. Yep. Maybe I'll just cut all this. Put a commercial.
No, how dare you? Don't do it. The episode 5 is probably the worst episode that we've released. Not because of the content that we talked about, but because of the quality of the audio.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with like the fact that one bit where you didn't mute us while you ran the commercial. It's just the fact that we were driving. And so what's funny is that I thought in the beginning it was funny. You could hear when I used my turn signal. So that was kind of like a little reminder to everyone that we're in the car. But what got bad is when we parked and we got to our in-laws' house, like it's just so clear in the audio that my hand is fading. And like, just like what's happening right now, the microphone is moving slower and slower away from me. Like I was just getting, I don't know if I was getting complacent or tired or just not remembering it. And then, when we get there, we turn the car off, we roll down our windows, we were fidgeting with that, like unbuckling our seatbelts. There's just a lot of chaotic audio, which to be fair, the episode before that, episode 4, was when we talked about the whole, like, when you breathe, move your face away from the microphone. And so we had just had like probably our highest quality recording session.
We did the
immediately followed by our worst audio recording session.
We don't have these things just planned out, guys. It'll be all right. We're in this together.
Have you seen High School Musical?
Nope.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, there's just the song "We're All in This Together." That line just came in my mind. Why'd you make that face?
Great. I'm glad y'all got to listen to a snippet of that song. Let's return now
No! There's copyright infringement.
to the segue.
Can we do that?
I don't know.
I just know all the time, and like not all of the, but the majority of the YouTube videos I watch.
I'm gonna lift a piece of that song. I'm going to raise the pitch, and then I'm going to speed it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna place it in there.
So you're going to make it so it's quote unquote fair use. Yeah. You're going to take it and change it. I had no idea where your brain was going, but I saw the idea come into your head. Your eyes light up, and I was just like, "Oh no, what have you done?" Or what have I said to make you think of what you're about to do?
I'm sensing the audiobook idea for this podcast right here for some reason.
What?
Like put like a stream in the background or something, some like gurgling brook, some birds chirping. It's almost like we're in a set.
No.
I just feel this one.
No, because especially because when I listen to these, it's often when Caitlin and I are driving to come record the next one, and I'm not about to have to listen to a stream of running water for 40 minutes while I'm driving to your house and just having to hold my bladder the whole way.
I haven't had any creative outlets in a while.
What is this? Or are you saying you just want a new twist on the
I gotta put a new twist on it.
Make a different commercial. They'll just slap the same
It won't be a commercial. I never said commercial. I said audiobook. All right. Segue?
Do you have any other thoughts on the past 2 episodes?
Oh, I was just going to say the segue was talking about the fourth one, going into what's going on now. Because the fourth
So like a double segue.
That's right.
A segue to a segue.
Yeah. Okay.
Like what you did with the commercial where you...
That's right.
The original commercial in episode 3 or whatever it was.
Tragedy. All right. So episode 4 was all about Andy's career journey and where he's at now, transitioning from a financial advisor.
No. Client services. Or registered private wealth client associate. Which is a bunch of words just to say I did operations.
Operations. And he's going into what again?
I'm seeking to get into the product space. The title I'd be looking for would be Associate Product Manager, but that title varies across different industries.
All right. So the general question is, talk to us about the journey so far. Since 2 weeks ago, I know you had some interviews lined up. What's going on?
Before I do that, I need to move because I'm uncomfortable in this chair. Are we just going to let the squeaky chair audio run in the background, or are you going to try and cut it out?
Just get up and move. As you were saying.
As I was saying. As I was answering your question seamlessly with no pause in between. What did you ask?
In the past 2 weeks, we know that you had some interviews and some transitioning going on. Update us. What's going on?
So the first interview was that generic interview with the recruiter where they're just going to screen you out or not. Basically, from what I gathered based off the conversation, is she has a conversation with me and writes up a summary or a profile of me and then passes that on to the hiring manager, and then the hiring manager chooses whether or not to reach out. So that conversation happened, which, of course, the fact that conversation happened means that my resume didn't just get automatically screened out by the machine that is Wells Fargo's hiring process. So that was cool and exciting when I got that interview, because I think we talked about it. It was the first job that I've seen the responsibilities of it. And I'm like, yes, I actually want to do this. Like each one of these responsibilities, I'm willing or I want to do them. And then I had about 8 or 10 of the desired qualifications, which is the most qualified I've been for any of these roles that I'm looking for. And that interview went really well. I would say my focus of that interview, I've gotten feedback in the past where I come off disinterested. Just basically, I'm not gushing with I don't by nature just gush with excitement or praise about something. Unless I'm really, 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 really excited about it, but I'm even keel for the most part. And so I've heard in the past that in some interviews I've come off as disinterested. So my focus of that was just to to do what I'm not inclined to do, which was gush about how much I wanted the job, which I did. And then by the end of it, I felt like I had done it overboard. And so, it's just a classic. Like, you came in with a game plan. You execute it, whether you executed it well or poorly or somewhere in between. And then you go back and look at the end. You're just like, oh, was that the right game plan? Did I execute it right? All those thoughts that go through your head. Obviously, I executed it well enough, or maybe there was something else about me that they liked enough that I got, moved on to the next round. And then that was the big interview. I was with the hiring manager who I looked at, up on LinkedIn, had been at Wells Fargo for like a really long time, very senior in her career. And then 2 senior managers on that team. One guy has been at like Wells Fargo his entire career for like 20 years. And then the other lady, she had bounced around, but she's over 20 years into her career as well. I was like, all right, time to go play with the big boys. I put on a full suit with a tie. I know. It's funny. I thought about this. If anyone wants to go look at my LinkedIn profile picture, that's the exact combination I wore.
This if we just pause here real quick, this really strikes a major difference, and that's just big.
That's big. I
can't. There's a lot of things there. Sorry, that threw me off.
Oh, I know.
That threw me off.
So to unpack that, for my first job at UBS, I had to wear a suit and tie every day.
Did you really?
Yeah, and this is another story for another podcast episode. We can talk about my first day when I showed up not wearing a suit and how that went.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So let's just mid-20s. I'm 25. Andy is like
27.
27.
Are you sure you're not 21?
I would say that modern workforce culture is what I would call seriously moving away from some of the corporate style suits.
Well, first off, like obviously COVID accelerated it. Like even some of I've heard things like, from the headquarters of Bank of America and Wells Fargo are becoming more lax. But there's still, I don't know if it is as present in other industries, but finance is still pretty stuffy. And so the first job that I
didn't know that
at UBS, we were the sister office to the main office in Weehawken, New Jersey, which is across the water from New York. Like there's just like I don't know which river it is, but there's just a river that cuts between it. And so basically, from Weehawken, you can see the entire New York skyline, and you just jump on a ferry and then you're there. So it very much has that New York finance culture. And the building that they worked in required everyone in the building, whether you worked for UBS or whether you worked for another company that leased space in that office, every single person to get in the door, suit and tie. And so in Charlotte, North Carolina, for there not to be disparity or any jealousy or whatever, they required us to wear suits and ties.
Wow.
And so we did that. I would say I was very often pushing as far as I could go. Like at first it was, I would still wear the suit, but I wouldn't wear the tie. And then when I got confident enough, I would have my suit pants on and just my button-up shirt. I would have my jacket like on the back of my chair, but it wouldn't leave the office. It would just stay there. I wasn't walking in the door with it. I wasn't walking out the door with it. I was putting on it if I needed it to for whatever occasion. And then, every so often, 3 to 4 weeks or whatever, some manager would make some passing comment about how we are not, upholding the standards. And so I'd wear a tie for a couple days until that passed over, and then I'd stop wearing a tie again.
I had no idea that culture there in finance was so stuffy. I mean, like, I know when I thought of like finance, downtown Charlotte, banking and all that, I just thought, slacks, nice shoes, button up. No tie necessary. There's
a difference between corporate finance and personal finance. So like corporate finance, when you're working in like a corporate office setting, is that like suit and tie, business formal, business casual. Or no, the high end of business casual, where business casual is suit pants and a dress shirt.
Yeah.
But in the second team I worked with at UBS was a local firm that of financial advisors, and this is the finance bro look. what you said, like chinos or nice dress pants, not suit pants, just a step below that, with a polo tucked into that, and then a vest. That's the finance for like the vest, like
Wow.
It wasn't like that puffer jacket vest. It was kind of more of like the I don't know what material it was, but
yeah, I see what you mean. That's oh man, that's such a different world right there. We are applying to do two different types of jobs.
Well, so
sectors. Better.
Yeah, I'm not applying. Like I don't love that, which is why like when I looked at you and said I wore a suit, like that's a big deal. Like I've done that before. I hated when I did it, but like I've gotten to the point where it's like I'd rather enjoy my work than pick work based off what I can wear.
Would you say that you're more casually dressed than me most of the time?
Well, I mean, you're pretty much always wearing a t-shirt and shorts.
But when you wear, so
you
know what I'm trying to say? Like,
I pretty regularly wear a t-shirt and shorts, but even more regularly, I wear an athletic shirt and athletic shorts.
That's it. So that's why I'm just shocked out of my mind. Like,
well,
I wear the same like canvas pants with like
an Apartment 9 shirts.
Yeah.
Apartment 9 V-neck, any color. Caleb Youngblood.
Medium.
Christmas present.
Medium. Like, actually, please.
You should make a commercial for this podcast for people to buy you those Apartment 9 shirts.
That's hilarious. You know, at this point, we're really trying to rake in the listeners' cash. $100 for the podcast, $10 per shirt.
By the way, all of this is you who's asking for the money.
Interesting.
So
where were you?
As we were saying, this is a fun time to be alive. I would definitely say I'm more casually dressed than you, but I can't remember a time where it wasn't that way. You know, like hindsight being 2020, I would like to say that it's like, oh, because I have to wear a suit for my job, that I'm not going to be, I'm going to go super casual when I don't have to. But I really can't think of a time where I've ever been accused for being overdressed for something, or anytime, a wedding comes up and they say it's business casual or semi-formal. I'm definitely the guy who's like, so what does that mean? Like, I know I can't wear jeans, but like, do I have to wear a belt? Does my shirt have to be tucked in? At what level of dressed up do I have to be?
That reminds me of the wedding we went to.
Yeah, the semi-formal wedding
semi-formal.
where you showed up. So that's why I looked at you. You showed up to a semi-formal wedding with a golf polo tucked into chinos.
No, they're just
khakis.
Tan. Chinos, is that a brand?
No, I think I don't know if it's a cut of pant or a type of material. It's not a brand. It's like a style.
Yeah, something. No, these are just Levi jeans that are tan.
Oh, so you wore jeans and a tucked-in polo to a semi-formal wedding.
And I guess I wore
sink
boots.
In for all the people who would be embarrassed by that and are cringing right now.
Let them cringe. I never read the label on that wedding deal.
Yeah, but you asked McKamey and she told you.
I just said, "Is this fine?" And she said, "Yes."
Yes.
Besides,
quote,
the wedding is not about me. It's for them.
But that's the thing. What happens if you're in one of their pictures and you're just some schlub
I will be in
with
one
his
of those
forearms and not just his forearms, half of your bicep and tricep are showing out of that thing.
Oh my. That's
the fact that you can see above the elbow is appalling.
That's less than what some people anyway.
But to circle back and keep you from getting canceled. It's going to happen eventually, but not today. Yeah, so I dressed pretty casually. So the fact that I was wearing a suit was a big deal. And it was not easy for me to do it. It wasn't like, I had all the clothes. They were all there. It's easy to put them on. I'm used to doing it. But like mentally, there was a bit of like a mental barrier of like, I'm just a monk. Like I'm just being a monkey in a suit if I'm doing this. Like I don't enjoy doing this. Why am I doing this? I don't feel like I'm being authentically myself. But then I was able to get to the point where I was like, if I'm trying to communicate that I am excited for this role, I'm incredibly interested in it, and you should take me seriously. I know, as much as I don't like it, I know that wearing a suit to an interview communicates that.
So interesting. Because like the roles that I'm applying for in the organization sector that I'm applying for, I would just wear like
Yeah,
a
like
V-neck.
like a polo with maybe like a quarter zip on.
Maybe.
Which, to be fair, I knew I was going to be. I knew I wanted to be overdressed rather than underdressed. And the three people I was with, one person was wearing business professional attire, and then the other two were just wearing like I could tell they were working from home, and so they were just wearing, not graphic T-shirts, just something like one guy was wearing a quarter zip, and the lady was just wearing like a plain shirt.
Well, to wrap all the way back around to the job, so what's the next step? Did they tell you what the story is?
So that is, I'm pretty bad at asking follow-up questions for the sake of getting details. Like, I'm not a by nature detail-oriented. So we do the interview. It's an hour long. The way I described it is I had, what was it? Oh, I described it like it was a football game, like one of those coaches after, like, well, we played well enough to get the win, but there's a lot of areas we can improve on that we'll work on this week. That's what it felt like. That's the behavioral interview questions. I think I answered all but one of them, like, really well and really succinctly. One of them, when I started to answer the question after I stopped, he basically repeated the question to me, and I was like, oh no. Which means I didn't answer it at all. Felt like I connected with them well. But then when it came time to follow up, I was still asking them questions at the end. And the interview started at 12 and was supposed to end at 1. And it was like 1:05. I said, hey, I want to respect your time. I'll just ask my last question, and then we can move on our way. Or maybe it was at 1 o'clock I asked that. Whatever. I basically, pretty much at the end, I was like, hey, I just have one more question, and then we'll go on our way. Then the person leading the interview said, thank you for your time, so on and so on, like all the niceties you say at the end. And they said, our HR team will get back to you on next steps in the process. We're seeking to move quickly, but we're only on our second day of interviews, and we don't know how quickly we'll be able to talk to everyone with the holidays. And so, if I wasn't on camera and they said, we're looking to move quickly, I would have just done the air quotes quickly. Like, a startup and a massive organization with a lot of red tape, like, quickly means two completely different things.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that actually means. But when she more or less delegated the communication to her HR team, it felt like in that moment I was like, oh, so maybe it wasn't pointless, but in that moment it felt like, oh, so I shouldn't be asking you what next steps are for clarification.
She kind of gave the next step.
Yeah, the next step is wait. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other parting comments as we near the 30-minute mark?
As we near the 30, that was pretty good. We went for a while.
Oh, we were going to rank how this went. That's what it was. I forgot. I still think episode, this is 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think episode 6 was a little stronger, but this one is pretty strong.
Episode 6 was good. I think it was good because we explored a lot of tangents, but we did it in a less chaotic than normal way. This one, I feel like, especially in the second half, we barely talked about my interview. We just talked about everything else around it, which, I mean, that's how life goes. Like, you can have an interview, like, this isn't an interview, but if you're interviewing someone, like, you can go the direction and stay true to what you have the interview questions for, or you can talk about what's most interesting to you.
Yeah.
And clearly what was most interesting to you was when I said I wore a suit. So I was going to tell you about my background of suit culture in my work.
It's just fascinating how things have changed or haven't changed in this case.
I think they are. Like, I just wore a suit because I have to, or because I perceived that it was the best way to communicate interest in the role. I don't think I'd be wearing a suit every day at Wells.
Yeah.
If I get the role.
Well, we'll let the audience know what happens, or maybe not. If you don't hear anything, don't ask.
Yeah, if this never comes up again, you know why. It's either, there's one of two options. Either I get a cease and desist because someone from Wells's back office was like, hey, we heard you're making this podcast and talking about us, cut it out. Or I didn't get the job.
1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Well, see y'all later.
Bye. See y'all later. Good one. This is just audio.